Your money now on hold. First Alert 4 Investigates is following frustrations about how St. Louis is doling out COVID relief money. Well, now we have learned some of the money is being held back until significant questions get answered. Chief Investigator Lauren Traeger has an update on how your tax dollars are being spent.
Well, what we're talking about here is $37 million in COVID relief funds. But even though we're well more than 4 years since the start of the pandemic, the city still hasn't handed out most of the money to the small businesses and nonprofits who say they desperately need it. And now the process has stalled again.
Agitated, still aggravated, still angry.
Owner of a small business, Tamika Steiger's frustration towards St. Louis city officials grows each day.
The whole thing, it's horrible. It's like, that's the understatement of the year, that it's horrible. It's so many words I could use to describe it, but this is, you know, kid-friendly talk, and it's horrible.
In June, the St. Louis Development Corporation, or SLDC, announced the winners of a grant for businesses and nonprofits on the city's north side. It had taken years to come to fruition, but in the weeks since, Steiger says there's been only more questions about who is getting the dollars.
There's no check and balances on any of these ARPA funds. So we're just giving them blank checks away to our friends of elected officials. Here you go.
First Alert 4 Investigates has been digging into the entities awarded the highest dollar amounts. At least 3 grants went to organizations of family members of SLDC board member and alderwoman Shamim Clark Hubbard. One, Ebony Washington, for example, herself formerly a candidate for alderman. Her organization, the People Project Corporation, which reportedly aims to help the homeless, is based out of this home. It was incorporated in August last year, long after COVID.
It's a slap in every business owner that's been out here at least before COVID was established, that suffered, that made it through, that had to close the business, that had to rob Peter to pay Paul to figure out how to keep their businesses open. For you to create a business and just throw some stuff out there on a piece of paper and someone to give you $800,000, it's sickening.
Alderwoman Hubbard said she wasn't available for an interview, but told us she recused herself from votes involving her family members. But there are still more questions, too. Nearly $1 million awarded to a company called Global 9 LLC and its owner, Kenneth Hutchinson. His grant proposal would turn this vacant building into a business headquarters for his and other businesses. Hutchinson filed for bankruptcy in 2014 and then was prosecuted by the feds for bankruptcy fraud. SLDC told us criminal record was not a part of their scoring for the grants.
Is that something that should be a concern to taxpayers?
It definitely should be a concern.
And still more. Even one of the grant awardees listed its physical address as inside a city park when no business exists there.
If even 1 or 2 out of these hundreds of grants was done in a way that might smell funny, that threatens to undermine this really important program.
Benjamin Singer, CEO of good government group Show Me Integrity, says the Northside grants are incredibly vital to helping reverse over 100 years of government discrimination against Black St. Louisans in North City.
Anytime that money's involved, you want to ensure you have a clear, transparent, accountable process that limits interference or impropriety.
Though he says there is no evidence of overall mismanagement or misallocation of funds, he hopes more answers are given.
That's why I'm hoping, Lauren, that you're able to get full transparency from the people involved so that we can see whether these grants are being made in an ethical way.
SLDC head Neil Richardson has talked with us in the past about the program, but declined this time. Wednesday, their office announced they had asked for the city's attorney for a legal opinion, writing, quote, "The conditional awards for any applicant with potential conflicts of interest will not be funded until the city councilor's office renders its opinion."
Do you have any family members or people that you know that were awarded grants?
No, I do not.
First Alert 4 Investigates did question another SLDC board member and alderman, Kara Spencer. She says she, too, has more questions.
What, if anything, do you think should happen next?
You know, I would just like, that's a really tough question. I mean, I want to understand where we are right now, fundamentally, before I could answer that question.
But Steiger says what should happen next is clear.
I think that it needs to be scrapped. I think they need to fall on their sword and say they effed up royally and figure out how to make it right.
We asked Kenneth Hutchinson for an interview, but he declined, instead saying his bankruptcy has nothing to do with the plans he has for his development business moving forward. Ebony Washington told us she was not available today for comment. The owner of the business in the park said the address was just a mistake, but that is the address that SLDC announced as receiving the grants. Most of the highest dollar awards still haven't been handed out yet. It's certainly a process we will continue to track. I'm Lauren Traeger, First Alert 4 Investigates.
A historic hotel in downtown St. Louis turned eyesore now has a buyer. The Millennium Hotel has been vacant since